137 years of waiting ends while Leicester finally win their first FA Cup at the expense of Chelsea. Hello and welcome to the All Balls channel. A 7 goal thriller at St James's Park, while City not hammer Newcastle, but what a game. Both teams free of responsibility, as I may say. City already champions, Newcastle already safe, and they played freely. City obviously playing their B team, rather C team. Saw Garcia after quite a while, but entertaining. Let's start with Carl X Arsenal Willick, not ex Arsenal, but Arsenal Loney Willick.
Yeah. Well, he can't stop scoring, which is a great thing, especially when he's coming from a club that is devoid of goals coming from the midfield. So it's nice to see at least someone from the Arsenal midfield, even though he's on loan at Newcastle, at least scoring freely, which is great. But yeah, you wouldn't really put Newcastle and Manchester City together as a goal fest. Like you would always expect at least Manchester City putting more pressure with their attacking prowess. But Newcastle, fair play to them, man. They took it to them.
Yeah, and it was a day for the youngsters. Willock being youngest player to score in 5 consecutive games, and Torres, on the other hand, being the youngest player to score a hat trick for Pep. And what a hat
Yeah,
trick! That first goal in contention for goal of the season, without a doubt. That
absolutely.
was, and like you mentioned, City not known for conceding goals. Yes, because there's Stones and Diaz, and then there's Laporte, and then there's Garcia and Nathan Ake. But
Okay.
yeah, they had João Cancelo on the left. I keep saying that for me, Mendy is third choice left back because I would still play Zinchenko over there considering he's a left footer. But entertaining game. Steve Bruce said it before the game that it's going to be entertaining. Both teams are going to play freely. Credit to Newcastle, taking the lead, hanging in there, giving us a good game of football. But City being City, I think they had 96% possession at one point in the second half, which was unreal. It's
Yeah.
unheard of. And all of this, City being champions, Newcastle avoiding relegation. But the biggest story, and since this week is all about goalkeepers, we'll start with the City goalkeeper, Scott Carson. He's playing after 10 years. My God. You could see the emotion in him during that pre-match interview. It was amazing to watch. And he gets a penalty save in the game.
I mean, it's kind of wholesome when you see someone like Scott Carson dawdling on the gloves after probably a 10-year gap and standing between the sticks for Manchester City. But it wasn't exactly the best start for him. I mean, he did concede 3 goals. He did save the penalty, which kind of shows that he still got it in him. But yeah, I'm sure this is a memory he'd rather most likely forget, though, considering that he took in 3 goals. But what do you expect from a guy who hasn't played in 10 years, And fair play
Yeah,
to Scott
and
Carson. He still showed the physicality, still showed the fitness that he still has. So, I mean, I'll give him a lot of credit for that. Like, only thing was, I just found it really odd as to why Guardiola played Carson in the first place when he has a guy like Zach Steffen in his squad. Someone he could have blooded, knowing that the league is over with. But I guess it's all down to just tradition or just making sure that Scott Carson gets the winner's medal at the end of the season.
exactly.
Like that's his dream. So fair play, and hopefully he'll only go from strength to strength. He's in the goalkeeping coaching team of Man City. So yeah, good job by Scott Carson though.
And to sum it all up, he's played competitive games in the Premier League for 6 different clubs. So kudos to him for coming. It was great to see. It was also great to see his hunger, where he came in the post-match interview and he was like, the guy Willock didn't connect with the penalty as he thought he would, because then the ball would have hit his palm and gone out. Rather, it hit his forearm and fell right into his path. So it's good to
Yeah.
see that even after 10 years, he still got it in him. He's got that competitive spirit. It's a part of the squad, and I think credit to City, deserved champions, and probably a good sign for Newcastle. They should sign Willock, but all in all, entertaining and a good start to the weekend.
Absolutely.
4-0 at Turf, no more for Leeds United. It was no more. What happened? What happened to the Burnley, the Chris Wood hat trick? It was Burnley have died down. Yes, they're safe, but Leeds, they are safe, no doubt. They have nothing to play for, no doubt, but they just do not stop. These guys are unbelievably amazing. I'm in love with them.
Well, it's a sad case of what goes up has to come down, and I guess that nice little purple patch of form that Burnley was going through had to come to an end and had to come in the end in the hands of Bielsa's men. And boy, did they really take a shellacking out of them. Like I mean, Jack Harrison, how much can we say about this player? Like I mean, he's another fellow I honestly think should go to the Euros, but that's just my opinion. But 8 goals, 8 assists this season, pretty much the informed guy for Leeds. Besides Bamford, besides all the other players that they have, but Jack Harrison has been pretty much instrumental this season.
Yeah, and if you talk about 8 assists, there's also Rafinha. They both have 8 assists, the most for Leeds in the Premier League since Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Now, that is a big name.
Yeah,
He is one of the greatest strikers the Premier League has seen. And it's not very often that you hear of a Leeds team scoring 4 goals and Bamford not involved in any of them, considering he's had 22 goal involvements all season. And Rodrigo, he's not played, he's had few minutes here and there in games, out through injury, back in, to finish like that, going around the keeper with ease, dinking the keeper. It's amazing what Bielsa can just do to this group of players, as players who've not played, players who have not really seen this kind of competition which they have in the Premier League. They've come and taken it by storm and they've conquered. I mean, if you ask me, this is a season victory for Leeds. The way they've played, the kind of football they've played, the kind of goals they've got, where they finished on the table, it's amazing.
yeah, absolutely. And I think they should take this as a positive and move on to the next season, because I think the next season there's going to be higher expectations from them. I think the key word, and we've discussed this in the past, is going to be consistency. Bielsa is going to have to find a consistent lead squad that's going to keep bringing in wins and probably also rearrange and make sure that that backline is strong. I'm not saying that backline isn't, but depending on their day, they can suddenly just leak in through goals if they have to. So kudos though. I mean, it's a good thing that even Leeds is tying down Bielsa to another new long-term contract. They know that they like the man and they know that what he's capable of doing. And I think he is the right man to steer this ship forward for Leeds. Like I think there's no one else in world football that can take care of a team like Leeds as the way Bielsa does. So I'm really happy that they've tied him down and the future does look bright for Leeds. But again, the most important thing is definitely going to be consistency.
Yeah, get him a chair and make sure he keeps Dallas. I think they'll be fine.
Well, he was sitting on a bucket, I think, before that. I know how does he like squat like that? Like I get trouble
Not
squatting. Like that. So.
not getting to it. He's at his age. If he's way fitter than all of us combined, it's embarrassing. But let's move on.
West Ham's European aspirations are now again blown wide open with a draw, a 1-1 against Brighton, and it wasn't exactly the best West Ham performance. Rahul, take us through that.
Brighton is West Ham's bogey team. You heard it during the game and you saw it. I still cannot believe that a team like Brighton is so low, on the table if they can play out from the back like that. It is amazing the calmness and composure that they have when they play out from the back. You feel they're going to give it away, but they just pass their way through. Bissouma's a legend. He is definitely going to be, up for grabs for a bigger club. Brighton changed their record, or rather, they didn't win, but they didn't lose without having Dunk, who has been their leader and their main defender all season, sent off last game. And then we have the legendary Danny. 50th goal in the Premier League. Beautiful little chip. That little midget coming in from the right, playing the ball in. And yeah, he was this much. And he was running around everywhere. I somewhat thought he'll probably go through Dan Burn's legs one time. He's that small and Burn so big. But credit to Brighton, nothing to play for. Yes, West Ham had everything to play for. You could see the disappointment on David Moyes. Benrahma finally getting his first goal for West Ham, and what a peach it was. But I think I've started to like Moyes a little more Because if you notice that the moment Benrahma scored, he went to celebrate, and Moyes was like, "Stop celebrating! You need another one."
Yeah.
Even though there were like 4 5 minutes left, so great to see that from David Moyes at West Ham chasing Europe the way he is. Uh, yes, they have a chance of qualifying for the Europa Conference League, but I think Champions League dreams should be over now. They're shut. That draw probably mathematically puts them out of it. If not, then logically it surely does. Considering Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester are still chasing it and are in a better position. But I am just like I playing out from the back as a Man United fan is something I cry about week in, week out. We have Bale, Lindelof, etc., and these guys, Brighton, are doing it with so much ease, and it is so lovely to watch. Like, screw the attack. The attack's a different thing, but just the way they get the ball out from the back is amazing to watch. And I think Graham Potter, if Brighton don't finish higher up next season, I'll give them another season. I think that manager deserves a better club. No disrespect to Brighton, but he
Completely
needs a
agree
bigger
with you.
club because he is absolutely a great manager.
Completely agree with you. Tottenham's journey to the Europa Leagues is again all but confirmed with a nice 2-0 victory over Wolverhampton. Rahul, Harry Kane, that man can't stop scoring.
He can't. And now I started to like Spurs a little more since George Bush has left. But yeah, I think like I've mentioned this before that between Kane and Son, Kane is the more important player. Taking nothing away from Son, they've created records together, and everyone was like both of them better love story than Twilight and stuff like that. But Kane between the two is the more important player because he gets the goals and the assists and he links play where that because of which players like Son, Bergwijn, Lucas Moura, Gareth Bale, Deli Ali for that matter, who's suddenly come alive ever since Jose has left and he's openly talking about it. What he's doing, you will talk about in off the pitch, of course, but he's come alive. He's showing what he's made of. All of them on the post show say that there is a player inside of him. We're waiting to see it. Yes, we all are. But coming back to Harry Kane, boy, there's a player inside of him. He's got 35 goal involvements, 22 goals, 13 assists. And in Europe's top five leagues, only Messi and Lewandowski have more.
Wow.
So I'm not sure you need to say anything more once you compare him with players like this. And they're playing Wolves. Wolves is a side that's down and out. They're probably considered lucky to not have been relegated in the kind of form they're in. On the road, they've only won two in their last 13. They've drawn five and they've lost six. Not the best record. Jimenez injured, Neto injured, Odin's nowhere to be found. We spoke of him early in the season. He's not there. Traore, yes. Fabio Silva getting into it, but same effect as Jimenez, no. Spoken about plenty of times. So, and it shows because a defensive minded midfielder like Hoyvier has gone into the box and scored. And like I told you off camera, if Spurs had a GD for hitting the post more than the goals they actually scored, they would have been happy because they hit it, what, 5 6 times, if I'm not mistaken. Harry Kane from
Yeah.
distance, Harry Kane from range, Gareth Bale, Deli Ali, they're all hitting it. They're like, okay, crossbar challenge. So it's just disappointing to see Wolves go down this way, but Spurs, yes, contention for Europa, doing well since Mourinho left. Uh, okay, I mean, they'll play Europa, but the way they started with the whole Bale situation and the Mourinho situation, they were looking for Champions League football. They won't get it probably next year. But question is, will they have Kane next year? So
Yeah, he's
that's
definitely going
still
to be a wanted man. He's definitely going to be a
exactly.
wanted man. I honestly think a guy like Harry Kane, his quality should definitely he should go to pastures new. He deserves to probably be in a winning team. I mean, how long is he going to carry this Tottenham team over his shoulders? Only he and Son can be doing that for so long. And I think once that happens, I think who knows, it might just open the floodgates. It might be a mass exodus out of Tottenham. Son might also want to leave. Mora might want to leave as well. And then it's going to be a whole new rebuilding, a new structure at Tottenham. And I'm still in doubt whether Ryan Mason's the right man. I know he's interim right now, and I know he's just doing it till the end of the season. But you know what? He doesn't seem to be doing a bad job either. Not that he's doing a good job too. So maybe stick with him, or maybe just keep him as an assistant manager, the guy who's coming in, so he can at least transition him in. But it's a huge rebuilding scenario for Tottenham if Kane has to go. And I have a weird feeling Kane is going to head into one of the directions of Manchester. It could be in red or blue, but that's for a different discussion. But yeah, they're going to miss out on a guy like him. And if he moves, all the best to Tottenham. Not that I care though, but yeah.
which is why Champions League football was important for them. But hopefully, Europa will help these two guys stay. But manager, no, I don't think Mason can do it if they want trophies. Yes, interim manager, keeping them in the hunt and all is great. But if you have a manager like Pochettino who got you to the finals and still couldn't get the cup, then I think you need someone tactically sound who's experienced to take this team up. So until then, I think their first priority is just to keep their players they need for next season.
Absolutely.
Liverpool, Liverpool, Liverpool at the Hawthorns. Okay, so my theory is that after beating United at home at Old Trafford, they travel to West Brom, who is already relegated.
Yeah.
Yes, party poopers, but Liverpool will have confidence. They'll have that push, that come on, we're in it. It's in our hands. We win 3 games and we're through Champions League football. And then they start off like that. Robson Kanu, first goal since 2017, is the first time he started this season and he scored. And then Liverpool just looked lost. Like, I think it was a game of two halves. The cliche of football was it was put out there in that game because Liverpool looked under pressure first half and then they piled on the pressure second half. Yes, they missed Diogo Jota, like we've said over the last few episodes. Mane missed a sitter. You expected him to score, especially after giving Klopp shit last game. You wanted him to score. Mo Salah, I've said this before, moment of magic can come from him anytime.
Yeah.
No backlift, no momentum. He stands there and he puts it in the corner. It's unbelievable how he can do it with that left foot again and again and again. But all this was not spoken about. What was spoken about was at 94 minutes and 11 seconds, with 4 minutes stoppage time written on top. Allison steps up and Allison scores. Allison is a goalkeeper. He saves goals.
You couldn't write such a script like this, like probably even Quentin Tarantino wouldn't write such a script like this to the end of a football game. But you know what, considering what Allison has been through the past couple of months, and this is like just this little tiny win that he deserves, like especially for what has happened to him personally and stuff like that. I wasn't expecting it at all. Like you would never think a guy like Allison just popping it in so easily. But you know what? This has been a pretty fun season that way. And like these all little things coming out have been fun. And I really have to say, Allison was the one person who deserved that win at the end of it. Like even if it was them winning the game, if it was 2-1 to West Brom and Allison still came up to get the equalizer, I'd be like, you know what? This game is going to be remembered for Allison's goal. And you know what? He got the winning goal. And fair play to such a good goalkeeper as well. And coming back though to what you were saying about Liverpool and the way they were playing, they were being very static against West Brom. And I think it's also for the fact that again they were messing around with their backline. They put people like Nathaniel Phillips in the backline with the other player. I forgot his name.
Williams.
Kind of mind fart. But yeah, and then they move people like Fabinho further on. And I think it's now becoming a case where people like Fabinho who are playing in the background, now they're trying to get familiarized with the midfield all over again. So I think that's the reason why I think Liverpool just looked a little static in the midfield. And yeah, Reece Williams was the other fellow who is played in the center. So yeah, I still think maybe this is just Klopp tinkering a little bit with his team and trying to see if we can get a rise out of them, especially when they're playing an already relegated West Brom. And it took a moment of magic for them to actually win this through.
But if you watch correctly, before that moment of magic, there was another situation where Robson Kanu was 1-on-1 with Allison and he pulled that save off.
Yeah.
So he technically prevented a 2-1 and then went and got a 2-1. First Liverpool goalkeeper to get a goal. First goalkeeper to get a headed goal in the Premier League. just creating one goal, and he's created history. I think the two things that Liverpool would probably not be happy with is the fact that players like Wijnaldum, Mane, they're missing easy chances. This is Liverpool's chance. And the one thing I was not happy with is that I made a lot of knock jokes on Liverpool considering they would go 1-1 and but eventually Allison comes and ruins all of that. But what a moment. It's moments like this that just make you love football. And to add to this, it is the added pressure that they have now put on Chelsea, who play Leicester on Tuesday after losing to them in an FA Cup final. It is unbelievable how good this game week is going to be. It's madness.
Definitely, yeah. More things to come as we wind up the season. There's just going to be a really exciting finish, and I hope we're all going to be looking forward to it for sure.
Storm outside and storm in game week 37, people. As mentioned earlier, there is a storm coming in the race for the top four. Game week 37 and 38 are crucial for teams like Leicester, Chelsea, Liverpool. That does it for this week's episode. Guys, do not forget to like, share, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and catch our All Ball special interviews on our YouTube channel. From me and Carl, stay home, stay safe.
Peace.